they can't claim a victory. There's nothing they can claim. They don't want to defeat. If Obama pulls out, we know exactly what the right-wing crazies will do. And the neocons, they'll say, see, he's a Muslim. He sold out the country to the Muslims. He's turned Afghanistan back to Al-Qaeda. So all those just basic political things play in. Well, once you make a serious error, like going in there, you get so many interest groups in politics that it makes it hard to get out. So I think probably we'll just expire there.
It's just going to be continual occupation of Central Asia for the foreseeable future. You're right. They're talking about a decade more. That's 18 years. It's like Germany. We've been there since 45, never leaving. Been in Korea for 50 years, never leaving, more than 50 years, and we pay for it. And meanwhile, the weapons manufacturers make a bunch of money. Our troops get killed, but generals get to pin more ribbons on their chest. We'll talk about the dollar and the death of the empire, the fall of the republic. The guys are laughing because during the breaks, I do 3- and 4-minute radio interviews. Just did one on 1360 AM in Dallas. There is no doubt I'm the hardest working man in radio. And one of the hardest working writers and researchers out there is Dr. Paul Craig Roberts. Always honored to have him. We've got him in this segment and the next. This is a short segment. Dr. Roberts, let's get into the dollar. You know, I got the New York Post saying dollar loses world reserve status, and then shows the numbers that governments and central banks, even our own central banks, are converting away from the dollar being the main reserve, though they're still buying treasuries at record pace. And I kind of ignore the New York Post, but then I see it in the Associated Press. It appears the establishment is trying to kill the dollar while pushing us under the water, saying, oh, I don't want to kill it. Here, I'm going to push you under. You're an expert on this. I can't think of a better expert, running the Treasury Department, doing a great job when you did do it, about where we're going in all of this. The banks are reporting record profits on the bailout money. Main Street is evaporating before our eyes, and they're calling this a jobless recovery. What is really going on, Dr. Roberts?
Okay, well, a whole bunch of things. But first, for the dollar, what's going on is that since the spring, like in the last 6 months, it's been rapidly losing value. And this is independent of any words that any central banker or policymaker would say. If you ever heard of the Botswana pula?
Yes.
The pula is the currency of Botswana. And in the last 6 months, it has gained 14% in value against the dollar, the currency of the hegemonic superpower. Did you know that Brazil's real has gained 22% against the dollar, or to turn it around, the dollar has fallen 22% against the Brazilian currency, fallen 14% against the Botswana pula, fallen 11% against the Russian ruble. And why is this happening? It's happening because the accumulation of massive trade deficits over so many years has flooded the world with dollar assets. And now the world is confronted with very large, massive federal budget deficits for this year, for next year, indeed for the next 10 years, according to the latest CBO forecast. And there's no way to finance those deficits. In the past, we've financed our deficits by having our trading partners who earn trade surpluses from our imports recycling the dollars to buy the Treasury bonds. But the deficits now are much larger than our trade deficit, and so there's no source of financing. We're getting some help from the fact that all the money we gave to the banks in the bailout, that some of this is being used to buy the Treasury bonds. But the world, for the most part, sees that the Federal Reserve is going to have to buy the bonds. That means it has to monetize the debt. It has to take the Treasury bonds and create checking accounts. Which is
so the hyperinflation, in a nutshell, where is it going? I mean, they've always talked about killing the dollar. Now they're talking about how it's dying. I mean, is this the beginning of the end? Is there any pulling out?
I don't think they're going to be able to avoid the decline in the dollar's value. It's already happening. You know, it's approaching parity with the Swiss franc, the Canadian dollar. Anytime the dollar loses 14% against the Botswana pula, you know that the writing is on the wall. So I think right now we're still undergoing deflation from the collapse of real estate values and commercial real estate values, and a lot of just failed small businesses, but you cannot monetize debt without the inflation rate turning up. So I think next year we'll probably see the beginnings of inflation. More pressure will come on the dollar because people will say, hey, I don't want to buy those bonds. They're not paying anything. They've got inflation. And at some point, the Fed is going to be really trapped. You know, how can they raise interest rates to attract
Doctor, stay there. We got a break. Tell us about it when we get back. This is Key.